Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Check out the link below, fool.com/the smattering, to get access to the 10 best stocks to buy right now. In a highly anticipated announcement, Apple has dropped something that looks pretty amazing on us here with its first augmented reality, virtual reality headsets. We're going to talk about it a little bit right here on The Smattering. I'm Jason Hall, and I've got Jeff Santoro with me. We really want to focus on not just the product and what it means, but try to figure out from the perspective of Apple, this massive business, this massively profitable company, how important is the Vision Pro product going to be for it in the long run? Hey, Jeff, how's it going, man?
Hey, Jason, this was fun. I watched the video for the Vision Pro. I'll tell you what, they do a nice job with their videos. They make the product look very appealing and very awesome. It remains to be seen how it works in real life. But yeah, it's called Vision Pro. It is $3,500 to start out. It'll be available next year in the US. It's interesting in that it's an augmented reality device, not necessarily a virtual reality device. So like if you think about the Oculus as an example of a product that's already on the market, it's got a closed front. You can't see out of it. All you see is the screen. Whereas the Apple device, it's clear. You can see through it. You can interact with the people in the room with you and, objects in your room, but it's also got the overlays, almost similar to what you could do with augmented reality on the iPhone for the last several years, where you could hold up the camera and kind of see what a couch looks like in your room and stuff like that. It's almost like it combines that with all the stuff that like Tony Stark can do in the Avengers movies. So it looks pretty cool. And it'll be really interesting to see how this, gets going as a product once it is released, in terms of how many do they sell? How many do they make? What's the demand like? What's the reception from the people who get it? And I'm sure we'll start to get some information about that soon, as people get to try it out and demonstrate it. What were your thoughts about it?
Yeah, so first thing I encourage anybody that's interested in it, go to Apple's website. Just skip all the other third-party websites that are giving you their take on it. Go to Apple's website, and it's going to be on the main page. If you don't see it, just search for Vision Pro and you're going to find it. They've done a wonderful job, as Apple always does, with making a beautiful product considering what it is, right? You've got basically ski goggles. Like you could easily assume these are high-tech ski goggles, watching somebody with them on.
Yeah,
They've
it
got some
still
great
looks
videos.
stupid, but it looks less stupid than it could have looked.
It looks elegantly stupid, I guess, is maybe the way to think about it. But they have some great films and videos to show you how you can use it, that shows how deeply immersive it is. So I think that's an important thing to me. Is you talked about the fact that it's not a VR product. We've all seen the videos of somebody playing a VR game and like punching their grandma in the face because they don't know she's in the room. And so there's like a safety feature there that I think that's kind of nice, but also the fact that you can use it and not be trapped in the headset, that I think is going to be really impactful. It looks beautiful. It looks like all Apple products within their whatever OS it is for that product. It flows well. The motion is smooth. It looks really useful. And to me, I think the thing that's most important, Jeff, is I think back through Apple's history, and I think there's a bit of a misconception. People think that Apple is this like massively disruptive first mover in technology. And that's absolutely wrong. I think that's absolutely wrong. Is if you look at the company's history, what it's been the most successful at is being the best mover. So we can just go back to the iPod. We don't even have to go back to before that, but we just go back to the iPod. And the thing is, there were some great MP3 players back then. Microsoft Zune was actually a pretty amazing, low-cost, high-storage music player, but iTunes was the game changer, right? It wasn't just the iPod. It was being able to have this collection of music that you can buy songs. They struck some great deals with the record labels where you could pay $1 to buy a song. You didn't have to buy albums. And that was kind of a differentiator, and it really saved the music industry, right? And that's where they were able to disrupt and create this great ecosystem. And then the same thing with the iPhone. It wasn't the first smartphone. And I think you can make an argument that BlackBerry had a lock on like corporate smartphones because of the high levels of security. But then all it took was a couple executives going into companies and saying, you see this? This is an iPhone and it's amazing. And I want to get my email on it because I'm tired of carrying this other thing. And that was the disruption. They were the best mover. It was the better interface, the better product. And we've seen the AirPods. We could say the same thing. It's sure, it's just headphones, but they're wonderful headphones. They work great with Apple's products. and it's a $10 billion business. So all of that to say, now we're talking about a $3,500 niche product, Jeff.
Yeah, you make a good point that they're not necessarily the first mover. They're actually the best mover. And this is a perfect example because you can go back through internet search history. There's been rumors about this VR AR headset coming from Apple for going back years. They've been this every time there was a developer conference or the September product launch where the iPhones come out, it would always be like, is this when we get it? Nope. Is this when we get it? Nope. And here it was rumored to be this time for real, and it actually was. So they've been sitting back for years just watching what else is out there, what's working, who's punching grandma with the with the Oculus on. So, but we're not a tech podcast or a tech YouTube channel here, Jason. So let's turn it a little bit towards what does this mean for Apple as an investment? If you're looking at this as a stock investor, does this have any meaningful change to the business in the short term or the long term?
I think in the long term, this is probably going to be pretty important because think about the iPhone. I'm not talking about iPhone levels of success. The iPhone makes up more than half the business by far. And then if you think of what it feeds into the business, all of the services, there's subscriptions and things that come through the App Store that are so hugely important to the business. Again, those AirPods, right? All of those sales happen because of the iPhone. I don't think we're talking about that kind of big, but directionally, I think we might be underselling how important it is over the long term, because as much as now we think about, this is how we compute, right? This is no longer a phone, right? It's how we communicate with everybody in different ways. It's how we entertain ourselves. It's how we keep in contact with our calendars. It's how we manage our work lives. It's so many things that we do. Eventually, we're going to get to a point where we're going to have more augmented reality that we're using in every aspect of our life. So I think, to me, this is phase one. And next year, right? So we're still talking a year before we start really seeing any meaningful impact on the company's bottom line. You're not going to ship them till early next year. So we're talking at least 3 quarters before we even start seeing any revenue show up, right? It's probably going to be really good gross margins, but my guess is that they're probably also going to continue to spend a ton of money to make the experience really, really, really good, to make it work, to make it seamless, and then start scaling it up over time. So I think it's going to be important over the long term, particularly to helping keep that ecosystem strong, to keep people loyal and using Apple's products. But what I don't think is, I don't think that this is an actionable event. I don't think this is a reason to buy Apple stock. I think this is a reason to own Apple inside of all of the reasons to own Apple, but I don't think this by and of itself is a reason to buy Apple stock.